Help us out. All the help we can get.
I wanted to ask you about, I know you've been asked about Dante's play in the past, but kind of, have you seen progress in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think, it's easy to forget Dante's rookie season, he coming from Australia, obviously, and not playing a good portion of that season. And when he did play, essentially a senior in high school, not playing, no disrespect to that league, but at a different competitive level. And then his rookie year in the NBA, and then his second year he's out with an ACL. From what you see and hear, it usually takes a while, even the following year, for players to recover from that injury. It takes them that long to play their way back in. So I think we saw a lot of progress the second half of his third year. And then you head into this year, and he's hurt again, and he's back. So, he had a rookie year and basically a half of a third year. So what you look for in Dante, to me, is, the competitive maturity. I think that's the one area where he's really grown, and some of that's having to fight through what he's had to do coming off an ACL and now his shoulder, and the rehab and the commitment that goes into that is not easy. And I've seen him, virtually every day working on those things. So what I'm getting at is, it's important for me, for our staff, really for everybody, to not have expectations that are beyond what really his experience can provide. That said, you see him the other night against Golden State. You see his speed, his ability to break the line and get to the rim. That there's some things he can do that can really help our team, and that's the main focus as we've talked about it. That's what he's embracing. How can he help the team win? And there's a number of things he can do. You saw one of them the other night. Obviously defending is a big one too.
With so much at stake every game, it seems like from here on out, if you do make the playoffs, how valuable do you think these intense situations will be?
For our group, I think this whole season, and what we've been through, in not a short period of time because it's been a season, but there's been very different kind of phases to the season. And this one, being these guys competing through a difficult, December and January, to be in the position to compete for a playoff spot. In a lot of ways, you're always going to want to make the playoffs, but in many respects, this process, simulates the playoff experience. Obviously, different opponents, different situations, but having to be ready to play every game, and sometimes harder. Because there are more games, because there's so many variables, and you just have to have the same focus, and that's something that we've talked about, and we're going to try to do.
Focus is rightfully on this recent stretch, but there's a bunch of wins that still left you seemingly within reach. That win in Boston, when you look back at that, what jumps out to you about that win in Boston with both Rudy and Derek down that night?
Well, I think in a microcosm, it was a little bit of what we've been through, where you had different guys have to come in and compete and play really, really hard, and that's something you want to do all the time. But there's a desperation that we played with that you want to try to simulate, no matter when you come out. And there were a few games on that trip that were that way. It kind of kept us, afloat, so to speak. We came up for air a couple times, and so I think that's been part of this team's DNA. And we're on the other side of that tonight, where Boston's, they're banged up, and we've got to be ready to play regardless of, what that situation is as well.
Talk about simulating that sort of playoff thing. Is that particularly valuable for Donovan, who hasn't done it?
I think really, our whole team, if you look at, our playoff roster from a year ago, it's pretty different. We had really one guy that was finishing games, arguably 2, 3, whatever the case may be. The point is, it's taken some time for this roster, to get to know each other. It's taken time for us to evolve as far as, trying to play to our strengths offensively. It's taken time for them defensively, you know, to I think develop the discipline that we need. So, in addition to Donovan, I think, you know, for everybody, and for Ricky, you know, for Joe Ingles in a completely different role, really as a primary scorer. So everybody's got something new, something different, and really that's been the course of the year. And you know, we want to try to keep getting better. That's really the focus for us, and just keep trying to get better, even though it's, you know, a short period of the season left.
You've been a team that's fought through injuries and had success. How do you think they've done it with all their injuries?
Done an unbelievable job. You know, you just look at, and I think sometimes when you measure that, it's not so much whether you're able to win or lose. I mean, they happen to have won, which is a credit to Brad and to their team. But it's also, you know, there's a lot to be gained by just competing. And guys that don't necessarily have an opportunity or as large an opportunity have those chances, and usually that makes your team better.
You mentioned Ricky. This is the first time he's won 42 games in a season. Have you felt like I guess a gratitude, or I mean, how do you feel he's?
That would be something I wouldn't necessarily point to, because it kind of implies that, you know, every situation's different. So. You know, Donovan hasn't won 42 games either. So there's a lot of guys on our team, and everybody's in a new situation. So really what we did last year doesn't really matter either. You know, this team, you know, hasn't won anything, and that's the way we want to approach it. Okay.